Hey everyone, welcome to Founders Live Conversations. This is where we talk specifically with some of our winners and special guests here at Founders Live. And I am Nick Hughes. I'm the founder and CEO of Founders Live. And you know what? We have a special guest here today. We have Kate Shifman from AOMA Co-Living and Coworking joining us from Lisbon, Portugal, or right outside of Lisbon. Kate, welcome to the conversation. Excited to talk about not only your experience pitching at Founders Live Lisbon, actually running an amazing company and co-living, co-working operation that we're going to hear about. But Kate, welcome to the conversation.
Hi, Nick. Thank you so much for having me here. It's an honor to have been selected to pitch and actually, of course, to have won. And I'm super happy to bring the project to the community, and obviously, always very, very happy to talk about IOMA and why I'm building it, and my entrepreneur journey.
It's great. It's great. And with Founders Live, we're all over the world, and we just love to celebrate our founders and our winners. And so, it's so nice to have you here. It would be just amazing if you could just give us a little bit of background on yourself, just a little, catch us up to speed. And then what we'll do is we're going to dive a little bit more into your entrepreneurial journey. Why did you choose entrepreneurship and all that good stuff? But maybe just introduce yourself a bit.
Sure. Yeah. So I always say that I grew up on the plane. I'm from Ukraine, and my father moved to the US when I was 8. And so I spent the following 9 years, from 8 to 17, between post communist Ukraine and the Upper East Side, going back and forth. So that experience obviously shaped my understanding of the world, my understanding of opportunities, the ideas about what I wanted to do for a living, and what you could do with a more open perspective. Essentially, this experience opened the world to me. So after that, like I graduated high school, and then I actually moved to New York permanently, did college there, ended up moving to London for a number of years. I started and ran a press photo agency there for a number of years. And then I moved back to New York City after about 5 years in London to take care of my grandparents. And that's how I ended up back in New York. And when I was in New York, I moved away from the agency that I had co-founded and went into advertising. Worked for a couple of ed tech startups. Worked for media agencies with some of the clients, like you could imagine, P&G and Disney, and all the kind of like all the big brands were super interesting and really exciting, and kind of gave me an incredible idea of what marketing at that scale is like for those kinds of brands, and being able to learn from those kinds of people, clients and agency partners, was incredible. But ultimately, I knew that I wanted to live a location independent lifestyle, because, as I said earlier, I grew up on the plane. I was used to a very global lifestyle, and also running a photo agency. I lived kind of like around the world for most of my life, and so, as exciting as life was in New York City, I felt that I wanted to be free. And so I kind of started on this transition to become location independent. I pivoted my career in the way that would allow me to do that. And eventually, when I felt confident enough, I moved to Portugal, and I started consulting with some of the agencies, some of the agency partners that I had been working for before. They continue to be my clients, and I've been living in Portugal, ever since late 2016.
Oh, and I hear quite great things about Portugal. Personally, I have not been yet, but I am very close. As of this recording, very close, about a month out, maybe 5 weeks out from traveling to Lisbon and Portugal for the first time. So I'm very excited, and I will see you all there, which I'm very excited about. But so great. And what I would like, we always love to ask, founders, look, this is Founders Live. This is about entrepreneurship. And you just described like many years of working for agencies and living in New York, and obviously seeing and working with larger companies. Why then choose entrepreneurship and actually create your own company? You mentioned like living a lifestyle that you wanted. So describe to us why you chose to start your own company.
Yeah, I've thought about this many times, obviously, during my own life. I think there are a few parts to it, and I think a part of it is living your life on your own terms. Obviously, entrepreneurship is probably one of the most difficult things you can do in your life, as far as choosing a path. But I think there are two kinds of people in the world: people who can only be entrepreneurs, and people who should never be entrepreneurs. And if you're the former, you can only do this, you can only work for yourself, you will never be satisfied working for someone else. There isn't It's not the same drive. You're not choosing the purpose, the goal, the reason to be, So when you're an entrepreneur, yes, you take responsibility. You never rest. Like, you're in it 24/7, and it's ups and downs, and we all know that. But if you were made for this life, this is actually the only way you can live. You cannot have it any other way. And you can go after your passion. You can go after your purpose. Uh, this is the only way that you as an individual actually have an opportunity to go after that true north that you consider like your life's goal, your life's purpose.
Yeah, I want to add to that because that's an absolute, really a true comment and a true statement. And there, I think about this a lot too. Not only because I'm running Founders Live, but I'm that exact person that um, I think you are just you're made for this. And let's understand, everyone, we are different. It's okay. We are different, that we desire to kind of maybe choose something that is a more challenging road. When you think about entrepreneurship, typically you're starting from scratch. You're literally starting something like from nothing, and that takes a very unique skill set. And so you're either made for it or you're not, and it's okay if you're not made for it. It's totally okay. But I identify with what you're saying, which is like you just kind of, it just happens. You have to, and there's a fulfillment, right? That you feel, that even though there's some challenges with creating your company and your business and your brand and how it impacts people, is very special. And I think that is a very strong why to entrepreneurship. But do you have any other thoughts on that? I think it is just a really amazing take. I really identify with it.
It's also about legacy, and I think about that a lot. Right, at some point, you start thinking about your personal legacy as a human being, and I think for a lot of people, family kind of takes that role. I've never been interested in that, but I have felt for a very long time a very strong kind of calling to create a legacy, and for me, it's kind of like a combination of doing my part for environmental sustainability and creating ways for us to build and to live in a more sustainable way and a more harmonious way with the natural environment. And partially is like promoting what I call the idea of life centricity. So it's moving away from the thought that your life revolves around work and profession, and really kind of connecting with your deepest human needs and understanding them, and having your entire life kind of like rewire it to revolve around that. And so it's at the intersection of those two that I feel my legacy lies.
Mm. Thank you. That is, yeah, it is great. And the legacy, you're already thinking about that. And that's a lesson to everyone out there. Kind of start with the end in mind is something that I say a lot. So that's really, really great. Let's transition into the experience pitching. And you were the winner of the first Founders Live Lisbon. Congratulations. So amazing. And what was your experience like? So maybe describe, how you discovered Founders Live, and then, the experience stepping up and pitching in front of the crowd.
Yeah, so I actually know Tom for quite a while. So Tom and his wife Adrian used to live in Ericeira, and yeah, we know each other for a while. They're also entrepreneurs, so we have helped each other in our entrepreneur kind of journeys, mainly like emotional support, crying on each other's shoulders for a number of years. And so, yeah, Tom just randomly reached out to me and said, "Hey, I know you're building this, and yeah, would you like to pitch?" And I said, I like nothing more than to talk about IOMA all day long. Like, sure, just give me a stage. I'm super happy to do that. But do you think this is the right community? And we had a few conversations, and he said, yes, I think this would actually be a good fit. It's not strictly speaking a tech project, but it resonates with a lot of the things that I think people kind of in the Web3 world and the sort of and in general in kind of like an entrepreneurial community resonate with, which is community and moving away from traditional structures, building something on your own, building something with the power of people. And so yeah, so I decided to join the pitch competition. I think the most challenging part was obviously the 99 seconds. So condensing my talk into 99 seconds, and then the pitch deck, that was yeah, that was a challenge. And I had a very good friend who's also like a startup veteran look at everything the week before, rip everything apart, and he said, okay, you need to like just redo everything, get rid of this and this, and this is what I want to see. And that was super helpful. And so I worked on that, and yeah, the the result was really, really good. But I can't stress enough the need for another pair of eyes. Yeah.
Mm. Yeah, and that kind of gets to like even why people would pitch, and maybe one lesson or tip that you would share with others, as you mentioned, another pair of eyes. Basically, like have someone come in and look at that. Some of our cities actually we have pitch coaches, which that might be something that ends up developing in Lisbon there. But what would you share with if someone was thinking about maybe they want to pitch at a Founders Live event? What one thing would you share with them about that?
Um, be brave. Also, one thing that really helped me in the very experiential way. So I got to the venue beforehand, maybe like an hour before, and I spent some time in the room, standing, where I would stand actually speaking, looking into, where the audience would be, the empty chairs. This helps you get familiar with the space and kind of like balance, your emotions, normalize your body, all of the emotional stuff, the anxiety. You want to be as calm as possible, because normally, of course, pitching is a fairly stressful event for most people. But when you have so little time, you have no margin of error whatsoever. And so what happens is, even if you, of course, your stuff, like there's no question about that, but you feel the time pressure, and you're afraid to mess up, and you're thinking about that in the back of your mind as you're speaking. Is of course you mess up. So one way to eliminate that pressure is actually at least familiarize yourself with the venue, with the room, kind of fully arrive at the space before you're due to start speaking. That would be a tip that I would give for sure.
That's thank you for saying that, and for everyone listening and watching, just take that in, and the suggestion of just getting comfortable in your environment where you're going to perform is, because we are in the end we're performing in some ways, calming your nerves, getting you know aware of your surroundings. Excellent tip and lesson that you experienced there. So congratulations again, that's so great. We want to shift into now, IOMA and your vision. So what is IOMA, what are you building, and why, and let's just go into that experience and vision that you are creating.
Great, thank you for that. Yes, so IOMA is, in very simple terms, a co-living and co-working space in Ericeira, Portugal. Ericeira is a surf town just 40 minutes north of Lisbon that it's the only world surfing reserve in Europe, and one of seven in the world. So it used to be kind of a surf capital, but in the last few years, it's exploded as kind of a hot, trendy destination for digital nomads, expats, and remote workers from all over the world. So I've been here for 5 years, and I've seen incredible, explosive growth just in this little fishing village that became a surfing village that's exploding into like this super trendy kind of like interesting thing. What I'm building is a space where digital nomads, entrepreneurs, anyone who is location independent or just wants to spend a few weeks in Ericeira can come, stay, work, connect with other like-minded people, learn to surf, learn about Portugal, make it their base as they're exploring Portugal. You can stay for as long, from a week to several months. There is a fully functional co-working space. There's a fitness center. There's a swimming pool. So essentially, it is a blueprint of the way we actually want to be living now, right? Connected to nature, flexible, and community focused. And with that, yeah, I can go through the typology and the project a little bit, but that's kind of like the very high level idea of what the project is.
Well, it's amazing, and I think my one of my questions would be around, when did you start this, and was there influence based on the pandemic and some of the as everything went virtual, and then a lot of digital nomads. Look, my situation is pretty unique, but I travel around the world. I pick a part of the world every year and I go visit. A lot of it's for Founders Live, which is amazing, but I also identify with being a digital nomad as well. It's fun. It's amazing. So, did this come from? Was this before the pandemic? Was this kind of like seeing the result of a lot of more remote and digital nomads during the pandemic, or when did this all come together?
So I started way before the pandemic. I bought the land in November 2019. So I started thinking about this project probably around 2018. At which point I started to look for land. I identified Ericeira as the location for a number of reasons, because obviously I already saw the potential in that space, in that particular village. The proximity to Lisbon is very important. Lisbon is one of the biggest digital nomad hotspots in the world. And so um, a place, a beautiful place with lots of nature and surfing only 40 minutes away, it was a no-brainer. For me also, it was very important so to make the project sustainable, in the sense that I created a framework that I call a 360 eco-positive approach. What this means is that I try to infuse sustainable practices or sustainable tactics into every point of the consumer journey. For example, the land is walking distance from the bus station. So you can fly into Lisbon, you can take the bus to Ericeira, you can walk. If you're staying here at the co-living, you can walk. It's like a 5-minute walk, get on the bus and go to Lisbon. For me, it was very important to eliminate the need to rent a car. And so there's there's quite a few of these sort of things where I'm kind of changing behaviors for more sustainable ones. But so the idea was, yeah, to create a place for digital nomads. This was way before the pandemic. I started planning it. I had chosen an architect and land and all of that, and then the pandemic hit, and then I realized that my target audience just blew up.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is a great place to just kind of say, like, as you got started, just even like, as you got started and then the pandemic hit, what was that response? And you said, your kind of customer base blew up. Like, how did you navigate through some of those, either just challenging times or, different times as you were, taking those next steps? Because this is amazing, because We heard you actually purchased the land, you own this. This is, you were in on like real estate, and then you want to build out this vision. So what steps did you take in that time frame that was a really challenging time?
Yeah, that was a very interesting time, as you can imagine. So, um, we continued to work on the architectural project. So, we were quite busy, the architects and we brought in a consultancy, a lead consultancy. Lead is an international standard for sustainable buildings. So we've been working with them from the first moments to really kind of to yeah to create a very comprehensive sustainability framework for the project. So we were quite busy. But on the funding front, I remember, those the first year of the pandemic, like no bank wanted to talk to me. Before the pandemic, before I bought the land, of course, I priced everything out. I went to the banks. They said, "Yeah, no problem. We give you a loan. Everything is fine." All of 2021 and partially 2022, they didn't return my phone calls. I honestly didn't even think I could get anything funded. I just kept going because one of the you know one of the kind of like, I don't know, parameters that you work with in life and in business is time, right? So timing can kill a project or the opposite. So I figured, you know what, maybe right now is not a good time to raise money. I'm going to keep going and I'm going to try in a year. And that's what happened. So about at some point in 2022, the bank started finally calling back. But yeah, it was interesting, let's put it this way.
It was. I find this really important to look at why is it important? Why is it special for, you mentioned co-living and co-working. And, this is something where, I've traveled to many different countries and many different cities. And, I do Airbnb by myself. And that's, in general, that's partly as I travel, right? But you're creating something that you want to bring people together. So maybe go down those thoughts of why is it so special to make sure that there is a community aspect to this.
Yeah, of course. I mean, connection is one of the main things that have now been proven by American Heart Association and all these research bodies to be integral to our well-being, emotional and even physical well-being. Like humans are social animals. We need to connect. We are less and less connected to our immediate families just because a lot of people live far away. They move away for work, for school, etc. People's lifestyles kind of diverge, so we're not as connected to our families. Yeah, people used to kind of have connections at work, but those are different kinds of connections. We actually, as humans, especially as Americans, we are lacking in deep bonds. We need to have opportunities. We need to have environments where those bonds can be formed because we need that for physical well-being and for emotional happiness. And so creating what I call third spaces, which are spaces that are not living and not working and not shopping, is very, 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 very important. Infusing social elements into any other space, whether it's a living space or a working space. Again, these are ways that we can help each other thrive, survive, thrive. There's endless opportunities for collaboration, for any kind of human connection and all the goodness that comes from like genuine human interaction and connection.
Yeah, I would agree, and it is quite important. And so, let's kind of go down this road of, where do you want to take this experience, this brand, AOMA? Like, is this only one location, or do you view more locations, more cities, more countries? Talk to us about where you want to see this go in the next 10 years.
Yeah, so I think about this as an archipelago of decentralized spaces, linking people around shared values and mutual benefits. So this is the first space. Once we are up and running with the space, the plan is to start searching for locations, two more locations in Portugal, one inland, mainland Portugal, and one on the island of Madeira, which is where the first digital nomad village was built. And it's a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful uh, place of nature, and there's a beautiful digital nomad community there. So these locations I'm thinking about. I was just in Spain and Malaga scouting for locations. I'm not sure if it's the right place for us because we, IOMA, the brand IOMA encompasses a specific philosophy and set of criteria. So we want to make sure that every location embodies that. But we're definitely thinking South Europe. So Italy, potentially some other locations in Spain, potentially Greece. But at the moment, definitely the first two locations will be in Portugal because I already know how to do things here. I have connections. One of our investors is Portuguese and a property developer. So it's going to be much easier to get up and running in Portugal. But the idea is to create more spaces, these kind of like life-centric spaces around Southern Europe.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. It's an exciting vision. And do you imagine, or how would, if there was a connection with those locations, is there a connection where if you, let's say in the future you have like 4 or 5 different locations, is there any, I guess, link or connection to those locations, or are they kind of all separate? Like, talk to us about that.
Yeah, so the idea, so let me actually go back a couple of steps. So the name Ioma comes from the Japanese concept called ma, which is translated as the space in between. So it's the idea of a conscious pause. It's the time and the space we need to recharge, regenerate, and grow. And so when I think about locations, I'm thinking about the kinds of locations that embody ma, which is Ericeira is definitely one of them. Central Portugal, Madeira. There are a few places. So this is how we will create. This is how we will choose locations. And then, yeah, of course, the idea is to actually essentially create, a network. So community members will have, opportunities to go between the spaces. I'm sure we'll devise some sort of a membership structure where there's credits or some sort of a benefit for people or ease of, swapping out locations. We now, I mean, as humans, we want to be flexible. We want to be connected to nature. We want to be connected to each other. So these are the principles we're going to embody in every step of our structure and our brand. So we'll figure out a way, obviously, to make that work and to make sure that everyone who comes to one IOMA can benefit from all the other IOMAs.
The vision is great. The vision is great. And by the way, ioma.co, that's
Yep.
the website. That's the URL there. So you can check out more there. Uh, this is amazing. I can't wait. I will follow up with you on things. Would love to actually come and check it out and see for myself how amazing this location is and space is. And I guess before we end here, you mentioned a little bit of philosophy. So I'd be curious if you want to share just a brief, little bit about what the maybe the core values or what the brand and the experience stands for.
Yeah, of course. So essentially, kind of based on the Japanese concept ma. So the idea of a conscious pause. This is one of the philosophical pillars of the project. So it's creating that conscious pause, helping people come back to themselves, reconnect with themselves, and also expressing that through the architecture and through design of the project. So using natural materials, creating, indoor and outdoor spaces designed for various levels of solitude to social activity. Uh, Designing outdoor spaces where people can work so they don't have to just work in the co-working space. It's infusing kind of like nature into every
Yeah.
experience. So for example, like all of our bathrooms have skylights above the shower, so that when you're showering you can see the sky and you can feel, the wind on your face. So it's really bringing nature in. It's using a lot of natural materials. It's yeah, it's wellness through art and design. The kind of place that helps you thrive emotionally and physically.
Yeah, that sounds amazing.
Mhm.
I can't wait to even, hopefully I can check it out. But it sounds very regenerating and calm, and really, I think really understanding the environment that we're in and the space that we are inhabiting to relieve some of the tension and stress. So I really really like it. As we're closing up here, always love to ask entrepreneurs and founders if you have lessons that you've learned already and advice to maybe some people that are just maybe a little in earlier in their journey. They're just getting going. Or maybe it's your advice to yourself, a handful of
Mhm.
years ago. So what one or two things would you share that you've learned that you think would help other early stage founders?
Oh, so many. Without getting specific about real estate in Portugal, because I can talk about that for hours. I think just go for it. It's I think it's in a way it's the advice everyone gives, but you will always regret things you didn't do than the things you've done. Obviously, be fiscally responsible and honest with yourself, whether or not this is something you can actually pull off, and make sure that you're not compromising your own life and livelihood. But life is long, actually longer than you think, in the sense that you can try a lot more things, even just in the span of like 1 or 2 years, than you think, and also like experiment on a smaller scale. I think for me, I went for like the dream right away, but like experimenting on a small scale. I mean, I know this is a very very basic startup thing, like you create an MVP, but I think I was approaching it from a different perspective. I think like, probably, creating retreats here and there could have been a way, kind of a safer way, safer foray into this. But I had this kind of idea about a building that embodies all of these principles. And so I wanted to start with the building. But yeah, I think go for it and test small and test cheaply. Yeah.
Those are really great suggestions, and you're kind of pulling from your experience, and that's always the great way to do it. Is, hey, I learned this, I did this, and it worked, but I also did these things that now that I know, I could have done it in a little different way, and you've experienced that and learned from it, and your suggestions and tips are very very sound. And if you're watching this, you're listening to this, definitely write those down and take advice. Just go for it, which I would 100% agree with and say too, is that if you are an entrepreneur like we talked about earlier in this episode, just go for it. Things come together. I actually wrote this on LinkedIn a couple days ago. We've had some amazing things happen with Founders Live, and it's been really fun. It's a journey, and it's absolutely great. And I just said, literally dreams do come true. And the craziest thing is you just got to keep going, because you have no idea who is around that corner. You literally have no idea. Just go do it. And then taking your advice, which is be smart, and make sure that you're taking steps to not put yourself in a compromised situation, or you're not doing things that are probably they're not wise for your life. But I'm telling you right now, you have no idea who will come around the corner, and this is
Very
very
true.
very important. So, with that, Kate, this has been an incredible conversation. Thank you so much, and really congratulations on not only the Founders Live Lisbon experience and win, but look at this, IOMA, co-living and co-working, and it sounds like you're just starting on an incredible, journey of building out these really cool spaces in different cities and countries.
Thank you. Yeah, it's exciting. It's a vision. I think the main thing to kind of take away from this is that we're not building just a physical property. We are building a blueprint of the way we could live in harmony with each other and nature.
Thank you so much. And, everyone, this has been Founders Live Conversations. We highlight amazing founders from around the world. So, keep watching, keep listening. Keep your eye on Founders Live. We have amazing things happen around the world. Hey, if you're in Lisbon and if you're watching this before April 4th, so I forget what actual day that is of the week, but April 4th, we'll have another Founders Live Lisbon. I will be there in person. I'm very, very excited and would love to say hi to you. If you're watching this after April 4th in 2024, well, unfortunately missed you, but thank you for watching. And with that, everyone, that is it for today. Thank you so much. Enjoy.